Hey there, Crystal Thompson here for Studio Katia. Today I have a really fun card. We are ink smooshing, heat embossing, cutting up our strips, and then DIY some awesome embellishments using the iridescent glitter just released. So stay tuned on how we're doing all of this on one project. Be sure to click subscribe and give it a thumbs up, and stay tuned on how we are making this beautiful card. Alright, to begin this tutorial, you're going to need very basic supplies. Of course, you're going to need your cardstock and your strip of black cardstock, and we're going to do our sentiment here. And for our sentiment, we are using the newest peony trimmings. It's absolutely beautiful. We have not gone to make anything with the flowers yet, but we're going to be using Sending Happy Thoughts. And the reason why is that it's going to fit super perfect on our sentiment strip. And then we are going to be using the heart fetting. We're going to do the heat embossing off of this heart fetting. It's going to look really cool. Then we're using one of the newest embellishments. And let me show you. Let me open this up. And it's an iridescent glitter. It's absolutely stunning. It's not anything that you can get anywhere else or any local stores. You're going to need two colors of ink. I'm using Juniper Mist and Party Dress, which is just a really dark blue and a really bright pink. And we're going to do some ink smooshing on that. So to begin, you want to have your surface ready to go and protected. And then I'm going to be using the back of my stencil. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pop this guy out so I can use it. And I love using things I already have on hand. And I'm going to do the blue. And then I'm going to do the pink. Try not to touch those colors too much. And so essentially, I want it to look like it's going to feather out. So it's going to come out this way, darkest. It's going to mix with that pink, and then it's going to come down into a very light color. And then we're going to use our ink blend. No, we're going to be using our mini mister, not our ink blender. I want to call it that. And we are just going to add water right here. And then we're going to bring it down. And we're going to mix those colors so you get an effect. So when you press down your cardstock, it's not very solid lines. And if it's not mixing, feel free to use your finger and swirl it and get those colors that you want. Okay, and we can always wash that off. We are using water-based ink, so you want to use a water-based ink to do this. And then we're going to bring a cardstock. This is just Nina. And I'm going to place it right in the corner because I want the darkest color to come in this way. And you just hold it there for a couple seconds and really let it absorb, especially since it's not watercolor paper. It's going to absorb it really nicely. And it's going to curl a little bit, so don't worry about that. We're going to use some strong adhesive to attach this to our card base, and it'll work out. All right, we're going to lift this up. And so you have this really cool blend of colors. I'm really happy you can even see it. So we're going to let this dry for just a couple minutes because you can't really do your heat embossing on a wet piece of cardstock. If you want to speed up the process, feel free to use your heat gun, and then we'll come back to do our stencil heat embossing. Alright, so now that it's ready to go, we are going to begin our stenciling. So we're going to grab our tape and we're going to actually tape our stencil down to our card. And the reason why is that because of the watercolor, or excuse me, the smooshing really warped that cardstock, and that's okay because we can straighten it once we attach it to our card base. But we want to be sure that this is not going to go anywhere, that our stenciling is going to be nice and clean. And so for this I am using purple tape, and I'm just doing the edges all the way through. And it's just going to hold it very, very nicely, and it's going to keep it nice and taut. If you're finding that it's curling, such as what it's doing right here, you can go ahead and just put another piece of purple tape to really hold it down. So now you have your image ready to go. What we're going to do, we're going to grab our embossing pad, And be sure that it's nice and inked up. And I just re-inked it just to be sure that it was gonna really go through. And so essentially you just want to dab down. As you can see, I'm holding down the stencil. This would be a lot easier on a piece of cardstock that had just not been ink smooshed or watercolored. And you could very well do this first and then do your ink smooshing. But I just wanted to show you how cool it pops up, because it's hard to see if you're doing it on a white piece of cardstock. And I'm just holding, and you can even like rub it around. Just be sure that your stencil is kind of stuck down. I'm going to set that aside, and then we're going to lift. So can you see the hearts? And this is exactly what I'm saying, that it can be a bit difficult to see if you're using white cardstock. So I'm going to remove one more piece, and then I'm going to bring in my silver embossing powder. And be sure that your cardstock is completely dry, or the embossing powder will be sticking to some of the wet edges of that water ink smooshing. Okay. And if you find that you're kind of happy where this is looking, like, you don't have to fully do all the way down, and I'm not going to. I'm just going to be sure that my corners and that centerpiece are completely covered. Okay, now I'm going to bring in my heat gun, and we're going to heat set from the bottom so we don't remove or kind of get all that powder out of the way. Switching hands. So we're going to do one corner first. And it's really fun to see it pop up, and I chose silver just because I felt like the hearts would really pop up against that blue, and that blue and pink kind of turned into that gorgeous purple color. Love the variation that you get. And you can achieve this by using your water-based inks. Okay. You miss a little spot, you don't want to overcook it. Alright. And I'm quite pleased with the way that turned out. It's very shimmery, it's very pretty. You have that soft look out of the water smooshing. All right, so I had mentioned earlier that we were using the peony trimmings for our sentiment, and so I had already gone ahead and did that. However, we're going to do something different with this. So I'm going to bring in my trimmer, and instead of doing just one strip, we're going to make this really fun. And so we're going to cut every word. You got to be really, really careful. So we're going to start at the top of this just to be sure that we get the right spacing between thoughts and in between the happy. And then we're going to use the little strips for this. So just a fun way to utilize your sentiments and to make more, especially on a card such as what we got going on. It's quite busy, but it's not at the same time. So I have my 3 strips. I'm going to bring in my black Studio Cadia foam, and this Cadia has it both in white and in black. And I love it because by using the black, you won't be able to see it, and we're using black cardstock. And so we're going to cut little strips of this, and we're just going to pop them right on the back of these sentiments. Alright, so I've added all the foam pieces to the back of my little sentiment strips. So we're going to just do kind of very fun. We're going to do sending, happy, thoughts, and then to embellish, we're going to bring in our liquid glue, and we're going to add some dots. And you want to separate these pretty well, and let me show you why. So we're going to be making embellishment dots out of glitter. And you're going, what in the world are you talking about? Let me show you. So we're doing clear glitter, and if you can, or clear glue, and if you don't have clear glue, you can use Nuvo drops or even your Studio Cadia glue. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to add the beautiful iridescent glitter that we had talked about earlier, and it goes a long way. And you want to do it on a scrap piece of paper or on something that you can bend or fold. prior to starting. That would be one of the tips I can give you. And I am loving this glitter. It gives it so much, and it comes out very quick. So this is going to be a fun glitter for shakers. And then you have some embellishments. If you need to clean it up a little bit, just go ahead and grab your scissors, the tip of your scissors or of your embellishment wand, and then just clean that off. And there you have it, guys. We have a really cool card using some ink smooshing. Then we did our heat embossing using a stencil, and then we did some DIY strips and DIY embellishments using a beautiful Studio Cadia glitter. Be sure to click subscribe and give the thumbs up if you liked any of the techniques in this video. Have a lovely day.